Nacha here. When I tell people that I am an author, a question I get asked a lot is how long does it take to write one book? This is a really hard question to answer because it depends on the book. Each of my books took me a different length of time to write, and I'm going to discuss that in this video. When people ask how long it takes to write one book, they usually don't factor in the most important element of writing a book, which is rewriting. When you have one book published, you haven't just written that one book once. You've written it multiple times, you've undergone several drafts, you sent it to an editor. Obviously, you don't have to do this, but if you don't, your book will likely be a pile of crap with a bunch of errors, which is great if that's what you want. So to make things easier, I'm going to say how long it took to publish each of my 3 young adult novels and my romance novellas. I'll be releasing full-length videos on each of my books talking about the writing and publishing process for each one. So with my first published book, Every Last Psycho, it consists of 2 novellas, Every Lost Thought and Psycho Girl. Each novella took me 6 days in total to write the first draft, and both of them are between 20 and 30,000 words long. With Anne, my second novel and third published book, this was a bit trickier because I wrote it over the course of several years. I was doing various drafts, so I didn't just sit down and write it all in one go. By 2017, I had about 50,000 words down, and in 2019, when I resumed it again, I revised it and I added in some more, which brought me up to a total of 85,000 words. I did later cut this, so the finished version is 70,000 words, which is a pretty good length for a full young adult novel. Around midnight, my 5th published book and 3rd published novel took me about 2 to 3 months to write the first draft. I spent the summer of 2019 writing it and then later editing it. This book is just under 50,000 words long. I used to write 2,000 to 3,000 words per day, but since publishing my romance novellas, my writing consistency has definitely increased. I once wrote 12,000 words in one day for a fantasy story I was working on. I do not recommend that. My arms were literally dead by the end of it. My average now is about 3,000 words per day. For the first romance novella in my series published under Diana Vale, I wrote 20,000 words in 2 days, which was mad. The other novellas that I'm drafting out in this series are about 30,000 words, so slightly longer, and they each take me roughly 1 week to write. I try and spend no more than 3 days reading through them and editing them before sending them off to my editor, who then edits them, obviously. Because the romance stories all follow a similar plot structure, they're not super hard to write out. I don't have to think too much about what the stories are going to be about. And to use American lingo, I am definitely a pantser when it comes to writing stories, as in I like to write by the seat of my pants. Although, the other day when I tried that, my desk nearly broke, so I really don't recommend doing that. Yeah, that was a really lame joke. Pantsing is fine for writing contemporary fiction, and I usually do have a brief outline of the story already, but for something like fantasy or sci-fi, it's definitely a good idea to plot it first. I mean, I'm sure George R. R. Martin would agree, considering he's probably gonna die before he finishes A Song of Ice and Fire. I have all the books of Game of Thrones. Yeah! The program Scrivener is amazing for writing, as you can set targets and word count goals for your writing. Scrivener is literally amazing. I mean, it has literally changed my life. I can't imagine life without Scrivener. So yeah, to sum up, I would say that on average, you have learned absolutely nothing from this video and it has been a complete waste of your time.